Hey, it's Ashley here, and today I'm going to be sharing two beautiful fall boho wreaths. So let's go ahead and get started. The materials you're going to need for both of these projects are 4 pieces of poplar board, a metal hoop ring, a glue gun, wood glue, wire cutter, wood stain, twine, pampas grass, dried flowers, and also a miter saw. All right, for the first wreath, I'm just going to be using my metal hoop and then also some floral wire, and I'm going to attach my pampas grass using the floral wire by just twisting it around and cutting off the excess. So I did this to the top, adding the pampas on there. I added 2 pieces, and then for the bottom, I did that same thing, and I added 2 pieces using my floral wire, twisting it around the back and cutting it off. So for this wreath, everything is going to be to one side of the wreath. So I chose to do it on the left side. You could do the right side, the left side. You could do it on the bottom, however you want to create your wreath. Go ahead and have some fun. So now I'm just going to be attaching all the other things that I have as well, using the same method of twisting my floral wire around it and adding it to the back. I also then took some wheat and I added that in, just sticking it inside for the top and the bottom of my wreath. So to give this a little bit more dimension and texture, I am just using these little round ball things. I don't know if they're supposed to be like cranberries or something, but whatever you have, you could just start to add onto your wreath to create different textures and dimensions and things like that. The next thing I did was I took these really pretty flowers and I just cut them off from their stem, and I'm gonna add them to the center so that I can cover up that floral wire. And to do that, I am just going to be using my hot glue. After that, I took some twine and I'm going to be adding my wood beads on there. And this is going to be how the wreath is going to be hung. So it's going to be hung from these beads. So you can do big beads, small beads, a variation of beads, however you want to do it. And then you're just going to attach it to the top of your hoop just by tying a knot and then gluing it. And then I tied a knot at the top as well. And then I looped it around to create a little loop, and I used my hot glue to make sure it was nice and tight together. And then I cut the excess off and I was done. And that is it. That is all I did for this wreath. I love how it turned out. It's very fall, very boho, and it would be perfect to add outdoors, or if you just want to hang this up inside, you can do that as well. But I love the neutral colors and how everything came together, the wood beads and all of that. It looks so good. And this would be perfect to either gift or sell. So for this next wreath, I'm going to be using poplar boards. So I first kind of measured out how long I wanted each piece to be, and then I took this over to my miter saw and I cut out 45-degree angles on each end. After I got that first piece cut out, all I did was I just popped it on top of another piece, and I took my pen, drew a line, and then I cut it out on my miter saw. After that, you'll have 4 nice pieces cut out, and it will all come together to create a square. The next thing I did was I just took some sandpaper and I lightly sanded my edges nice and smooth, and also some of the center parts of the wood as well. So to attach this, I'm going to be using my wood glue, and I just attached all of my ends together and I let this dry. After it dried, I took this back outside and I took my favorite color stain, which is golden oak, and I stained my frame. So for this part, you can stain, you can paint, you can spray paint, but I just decided to stain this. So I feel like the golden oak is a really nice fall-ish color. So I knew that it would look perfect with all the rest of the stuff that I'm gonna add to this wreath. Next comes the fun part, and that is creating your wreath. So whatever flowers, leaves, or anything like that you have, you can start to add that. And to add it to this type of frame, all I did, again, just like I did with the gold hoop, was I wrapped the floral wire around. And once I wrapped that piece around, this was the piece that I'm just going to start to add everything into. So I'm just literally going to start to stick everything in there, and then once you get a whole bunch of stuff in there, it becomes really, really tight, and these things do not move. So after I got my main leaves on there, I started to add some of my dried flowers around. Again, have fun with this, whatever colors you choose. So this is fall, so of course I'm gonna have like fall colors, and you just gonna start to just add those in anywhere that you see fit. Another thing that I did to group everything together was in the middle part, I kind of pulled it together and took my floral wire again and just wrapped that around, and it kept everything nice and tight. The last thing I did was I added pampas to both ends, and then I started to work on the opposite side of the wreath. And honestly, this was like, I guess, catacorner to the opposite side, and I did the exact same thing that I did for the other side. So I added the main leaves on first, then I added in my dried flowers, and then of course I added in the pampas, making sure everything was nice and tight. And then I took those same flowers that I used on the previous wreath and I added those into the center again to hide any of the floral wire that I had there. The next thing I did was I took this aluminum sheet and I'm going to add it to the bottom half of my wreath. So first I just placed it where I wanted it, then I took a marker and I marked where I needed to cut it out, and then I used my tin snips to cut this. And when you're doing this, you want to be careful. You can even just wear some gloves just so that you do not cut yourself. And then the next thing I did was I just took my hot glue and I glued this to the back. After that, the next thing I did was I tied a piece of twine to the top like I did the previous wreath, and then I'm going to add my wood beads on there again, and I did that same thing with tying it at the bottom and then looping it around to create a nice loop and gluing it with my hot glue. And that was it. So I love how this wreath turned out. Honestly, this is my favorite one, and it's so different, so unique, and it looks really good on the door. Perfect for fall. Again, you can have this outside, you can have it inside. So both of these are very easy to make.
And if you enjoyed this DIY, as always, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you comment down below to let me know what you think, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!